Hey everybody, I hope everyone's being fantastic. It's a fantastic Thursday, and I'm with Johannes from Avatar. Not the movie, the band. They were there first. What made you? What is an Avatar, and how did you think of the name?
Well, that is critical to our drummer John when he was 14 years old in school, learning about the world religions, and the word Avatar originates from Hinduism. There it's used as when a god manifests itself on Earth in human form or in shape of an animal, meaning it's a god in disguise. So 14-year-old drummer John thought it was a cool concept, and we've stuck with it ever since.
And so how many years is that?
He and our guitar player Joe started the band in 2001. I joined in 2002 when I was 16 years old, so half our lives.
Wow. And you're touring around the world.
Yeah, we're got two nights here in Los Angeles, then we got Tucson, Arizona tomorrow, and Las Vegas in 2 days, and then we're done. But we've been here we have gone coast to coast basically, and up in Canada, and tour a lot.
So you're, is it rock and roll?
Metal.
Oh, it's metal.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between metal and rock and roll?
Well, in the grand musicologist view of it, I'll say that rock and roll, that metal is something that branched out of rock and roll. So that's the music history that rock and roll was a marriage between country and western together with blues.
Okay.
Essentially. And it kind of sped the blues up, and it became a bit happier, more youth-oriented, I would say. And all those things happened with it in the 50s. Chuck Berry and all those guys.
Right.
And then rock and roll over the next decade and a half or so from that, started to become something more of its own, where I guess you emphasize even more the heaviness of the music, and to some extent the speed of it, and ultimately I think it became heavy metal when it had morphed over and over so many times that most of the blues was gone. Now there are very bluesy metal bands out there today, it got reintroduced, but let's take a band. It was kind of defined by Black Sabbath first, I guess in 1970, when the first album came out. That is where again, emphasis on making it sound heavy,
right?
Putting really the riff guitar in the center of things, which had happened, of course, before, but I would say even more so around that time, and where they kind of went out of the way to do scary music, so it explores darker themes and stuff. Kind of started there. They did it, but that's early on. They're pioneers, so they don't know that they're a heavy metal band. That happens a couple years later, that you start calling it that and understand that is what you're doing. And Judas Priest would be one of the big ones in that, where again the blues had pretty much all been stripped away, and there's a core there that over time also get influenced by punk rock. So you gotta.
And then there was acid rock as well, right?
Yeah, acid rock played different.
Was that before or after?
Yeah, before. And psychedelic rock played an important part in what heavy metal became, absolutely. Because there are all these proto metal, you would call it now in hindsight. That the Beatles has a song like Helter Skelter,
right? Or
the Kings has "It Really Got Me Going." Those when a guitar
was
loud and obnoxious.
Right. I love that song.
Yeah,
Girl, You Really Got Me. Oh my gosh.
So I love the Kings. So that's kind of where it all originates from, and then it's been growing into a million tiny branches that is quite global. Where I'm from, Sweden is like really a powerhouse in the genre and in multiple subgenres of it, but the same can be said for any country. And because the very core of it is to make this heavy, very explicitly expressive type of music, where there's room to what's really exciting today is that you have really cool and interesting bands from let's say New Zealand combining it with their Maori culture and language and stuff, and just turn that to heavy music. And hear the same in let's take like Brazil. Many has Sepultura would be one of the big ones, I guess, and just how they work the drums a bit based on where they come from. You can apply all these different cultures. A lot of Nordic folk music from Finland, Norway, Sweden that is integrated into Northern European bands. And there's this amazing Mongolian band called The Who, but HU, for instance, that play heavy metal but on traditional Mongolian instruments, folk instruments. So it becomes very global. It's something that people can really integrate into their own local culture and ideas, and then just make a very powerful statement out of it.
What's your age group for your fans?
That's another cool thing with metal, since it's not really dependent on trends going up and down. Every 20 years it becomes extra popular for a while.
Okay.
In the early 80s, I'd say, was one kind of peak, probably, and then around the year 2000, late 90s, early 2000s, another peak. I feel like we're heading into one now as well. But it's a strong scene and subculture on its own, and those, the grandpa generation that was around there in 1970, there's still a whole lot of them that are into what the next new interesting thing is there. It's a scene that is, of course, we're on a label and it's marketed and promoted and everything as it should be, but the very core of the style of the music is so driven by fans for fans. So there's always a scene that sometimes resides back to the underground but resurfaces over and over again. So age groups we got the teenagers, then we got people, way past retirement coming to the shows, everything in between, people bring their kids. It's
and 1,100 people coming tonight. That's a nice crowd.
Yeah, that's good.
What's your biggest crowd you played in front of?
Well, counting festivals, I would say probably 50,000, or I don't know, it's hard to count over 5,000 when you stand on stage, but looking at the numbers that have been on certain festivals we played, 50,000.
And how many people in your band?
5.
There's 5. Is that typical?
Yeah, I would say so in metal, because you want, it's very normal since the 70s that you want that you have two guys playing guitar, but both play rhythm and lead, essentially. Because then you can play harmonies and lead, or have a strong rhythm section, including on electric guitar, not just bass and drums going on while someone plays a solo, or have harmonies inside the riffs and stuff like that. So that's very common.
Mm-hmm.
Next, the second most common, I'd say, would be a 4-piece, so just one electric guitar, bass, drum, and vocals. But I'd say the most common setup are 2 guitars, drums, bass, and vocalist that is not holding an instrument on stage, because then you cannot move around as much.
So it's got to be just fantastic to be able to do something that you love to do and get paid well for it.
Yes, it is, absolutely. I'm very strict on wanting to do this specific on my terms. Like,
Are you the leader of the band?
No,
Or
we
is it
are
no
a
leader?
democracy.
Okay.
We all own 20% each in the company.
Okay.
So
Are you the lead singer, or are you
yeah, lead singer. So there are certain things that certain members are having a bit extra authority in, I would say, because I am the lyricist and I am the mouthpiece of the band, so to speak. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm the leader of the band per se.
Okay. Because I've watched these recently, these motion pictures. I love motion pictures based on true stories, like Bohemian Rhapsody, and these stories about these rockers that obviously it's a lot of pressure, the drugs, the fame,
well, that has
the
changed.
fortune.
That has changed a lot. Number one, now things are just so fragmented today. So for a band to hit that level of fame today, independently of its quality, is just not how things spread anymore. That is hard to recreate that size. And in terms of drugs, sure, but I've always felt like when I was going to clubs in my early 20s at home, I saw a lot of non-touring people taking blow, that I never see on the road, because we just don't associate with that. So
right.
I think it has become, it's also, I think people did a lot of more things out of, because internet helped in terms of communicating with your family, in terms of figuring out what you can do with your day. We are way more connected on the road now, so
Right.
you don't live as much in your bubble as I would imagine you did in the past.
Sure.
And also because the music business isn't what it used to be, for better or worse, but that means there's a certain, I would say it's more cutthroat than ever before, for the simple reason that you are, and again, I guess we also have internet to thank for that. I think it's easier to start a band, cheaper to record. I think there are more bands than ever on various levels, and if you want to be the best at it, you can't fuck it up by being too drunk and too stoned all
Right.
the time.
Right.
Or you can't
Well,
for a
fame-
little while.
I always say you wouldn't want to wish fame or fortune on your worst enemy. And has fame got to you, anybody in the band? Because it's really hard to handle fame or fortune.
Well, the thing is that most of we started this band again when we were in our mid-teens, and in terms of making a living out of it and really growing it to where we are now, that has been in the past maybe 6 years now. But in terms, so it's just, we had already done a lot of things and grown up quite a bit and had to show up on time on a day job for such a long time that it's different. In hindsight, I'm grateful that we weren't on this level when I was 19 and our first album came out.
Yeah.
I think that would have been harder to process.
Probably so, yeah.
And also, but the thing is, because we are in this subculture we are, you have to be really huge for it to really reach outside of that subculture's bubble. I would say right around the block where we're playing tonight, I'm very famous. People are already queuing in and stuff like that. So right then and there, I'm famous. If I walk 2 blocks away, I'm
You're a bum in the street downtown.
yeah, exactly. So
Not a very good area of town, by the way.
yeah, no, but so it's easy for me to step away from that kind of attention,
Yeah.
And the thing again, like we are very work oriented in what we do.
Well, you're serious about your job.
Yeah, but
that's
the
great.
plot at the end is really nice, but it's more important what we do that leads to that plot, and it's about the expression of the music and wanting to play and sing and create and film and all these things around it in such a way where the attention comes with the territory. So it wasn't to grab attention that we all started out. We are just very much in love with the music we're creating.
How often do you write songs?
I don't know how to quantify that. It's a constant process.
Like you're writing a few right now in your head, probably, right?
Yeah, it's kind of,
And
especially
then
now. We're
it's like the
working on
Beatles, as they went to the USSR, they wrote a song about USSR. So you kind of write about your experiences, about your love, about your wife, about all your things, right?
Kind of like that, sure. It's because there's there's always something going on. You take a note here and there, we discuss something we're working on, whatever, and then it's just a question of when you have time to create those office hours to really.
You had a number 1 hit?
No, we've been on the. No.
What's your biggest hit, let's say?
In terms of YouTube views for a music video, there's a song called Bloody Angel. That would be the biggest one. And then if I look on Spotify, I think the most played song there is one called The Eagle Has Landed.
Okay.
So those are 2 big ones. But we're just not... we have songs on certain radio stations, especially here in the US. But that is not our number 1 way to reach out. And it has never been that for metal. It's usually too formulaic. And despite... If you get into the genre we're playing, the kind of music we're playing, ultimately we are not that extreme as you can be.
Mm-hmm.
But still, and I think to a person who's not into metal, a lot of what we do sounds extreme and very harsh, and most radio stations back away from that.
What was your favorite type of music growing up?
Oh, I was very non-tied by genre. through my parents, I got it. The first thing I was into was classical music. I wanted to be a conductor when I was 5 years old.
Oh, really?
So Beethoven was my first favorite then.
Oh, that's great.
Then around the same age, Michael Jackson was all the rage. So it was a lot of that. The Dangerous album came out when I was around that age. Then I was 8 years old when I saw something about the Beatles on TV, and then Dad pulled out his old vinyls and started to buy them on CD. So Beatles it must be the most important band
Aren't the Beatles incredible?
Yeah.
The variety of music that they did with 4 people.
Yeah.
I mean, because
And
you
the level
hear
of
the Stones,
innovation in
and the Stones sound like the Stones, but the Beatles sound like 20 different groups.
At the same time as they still are able to sound like the Beatles. That's the true magic of it. To me.
That's very magical. Have you met any of the Beatles?
No. But then prior to finding metal, it was a lot of the 60s. Starting point was Dad's old album collection. We talked about the Kings before you started filming, and now that was when we were filming.
Yeah, the Kings. The Kings
Yeah,
are
and I
great.
had my walls in my room at some point were covered in my dad's old Kings vinyls. So a lot of 60s stuff. Then through my older brother came the discovery of heavier and heavier things, and then through friends. And so you go from, I don't know, there's something called power metal is a subgenre where it's very fantasy oriented and positive, I would say, very fast, upbeat, rooted in heavy metal. So power and heavy metal came first for me, and then I did a very typical journey into the more extreme genres, ultimately leading to grindcore, death metal, and black metal.
Oh my gosh. Death metal?
Yeah.
Oh, lots of metals, huh?
There are lots of metals. The big groups, I would say, is heavy metal, and ultimately, in a way, everything is under the heavy metal umbrella.
Right.
Because
That's the genre.
yeah,
And then there's a
there's subgenres, and they're called, power metal, which takes one aspect of it to the extreme. Then power metal, black metal, death metal, thrash metal, I would say are the absolute big ones. But then you can get into the nitty gritty of it, and it has, if you listen to a lot of this music, it makes sense to have these definitions where you go to, I don't know, speed metal. Oh, there's doom metal, of course, and doom metal is related to goth.
What's that? I'm sorry, what was that?
Doom metal.
Doom metal, okay.
So if death metal is supposed to originally, basically your the very basic view of it would be a splatter horror movie in the shape of music. Then doom metal would be like a funeral in the shape of heavy music. And then black metal is more spiritual, but not on the happy-go-lucky side of spirituality, and very philosophical. But they all, it's hard to draw a clear-cut line. There are a lot of crossovers, and there are all these bands that are kind of, especially for extreme music, that meant a lot to everyone in the extreme genre going forward. Like a band called Bathory from Sweden, or Slayer from the States.
I've heard the Slayer, yeah.
Yeah, and they're very important originators for both black death and thrash and all the little subgenres. No, but again, because the core of what metal music is fairly simple as any genre of music, the basic idea of it, but there's so much you can do with it. You can, in its simplest form, you can make a heavy sounding version of anything. You can see clear examples of a little silly little thing that many bands are doing is you do a heavy metal cover or a death metal cover of Britney Spears or something, and that kind of proves the point that it's a way to arrange and express and just play certain things that you can metalize almost anything. And that is why you have these cool bands from Jamaica kind of mixing reggaeton with metal, or you have, like I said, people using their particular, from wherever they're from, their type of folk music, or even indigenous rooted kind of music, and apply it to metal.
I've never heard so much metal in my life.
No,
That's fantastic. So in my 800 plus YouTube videos, I've had some rappers, and I've got them to rap, and some of them, it's rapping's neat because it's what is it, off the cuff, ad lib.
Yeah, you can.
And then I've had singers sing their songs. Would you mind singing a couple bars of one of your favorite songs? Probably not.
No, what I can do though, I guess, is show you what the harsher end of the way I sing songs.
That'd be great.
So a basic growl, which is something that again has evolved and turned into a lot of different things through the years, but something like.
So that'll be in one of your songs, or all your songs.
No, like I do more conventional forms of singing as well.
Would that be at the end of a song? You would do that growl?
No, I would sing in that way, like I would sing words.
You sing words in that way. Well, let's hear a couple words like that.
I don't know, like
one of your songs that you like.
I don't know. I can read the sign there. Century Boulevard East.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Like that. I should have done.
Doesn't that hurt your voice?
No. Well, I should warm up more.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Hurt yourself there.
You're fine. No.
Okay. How about I am fit? Do it. I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.
Love it.
The thing is, what happens is you have your vocal cords, right?
Yeah.
And when those vibrate, you get a nice even tone, which makes your singing voice, your talking voice, and everything. Then you can do all these things, create sounds that have nothing to do with your vocal cords, like bah, or whisper, hello, all these things have.
Like Jagger was a real big. Didn't he do a lot with his screaming and?
Yeah, and basically what you have is, I don't know the words for it now in English, but basically, if instead of having the vocal cords vibrate, they are attached to some muscle that aren't as nice and even and smooth. So if you create that guttural sound there, the sound becomes more uneven and noisier, harsher, more guttural, and then you can play around with that. How much of that you apply to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the technique, and then the rest of it, the other 95% of it is the same for opera or jazz or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to use your core and how to maintain. The idea is always, whatever you sing is to not hurt yourself, is to only use exactly the amount of air required to create that sound.
Gotcha.
So
it sounds dangerous when you said that.
Yeah, that's the point. But still, while I do it, if I hold a candle in front of my mouth just this couple of inches away, the flame wouldn't even flicker.
Yeah, because there's not much air coming out. It's
just the amount of air needed to create the sound.
Okay. Now, are you a guitarist?
Yeah,
you play the guitar
but not
well?
on the level as my colleagues in the band, but I do write songs. I'm one of the songwriters.
With the guitar?
Yeah.
So you don't play on stage, you just sing?
No. On stage I just sing. I have a trombone solo in that song also.
Oh, you play the trombone?
Yeah. I play a couple of different instruments.
Oh, that's cool. I like the saxophone. I always like the saxophone.
Yeah.
It's a really sexy instrument.
Yeah, so no, I play a couple of different instruments. Not well, but it's part of, I guess, being a songwriter. It's good to have somewhat an understanding of it. Like there's in no universe I would call myself a drummer, but I can play a couple of beats for a couple of bars and have some kind of intellectual understanding what a drummer can do and what my drummer can do, and so and the same would go for bass. Like if you can play guitar, you can quote unquote play bass, but then it's another level to be an actual bass player. Exactly. But then to really make the most of what a bass is supposed to do, then it's always is.
That sounds like it's probably one of the easier instruments, right? A bass.
No, that's because that's the thing. That's the challenge. Of course, you usually don't play as fast on it, for instance.
Right.
But what it's supposed to do, in terms of driving a song, keeping things in the pocket, being, and creating, you have way less tools, so to speak, on your disposal to be expressive with. But the fundamentals of what a bass is doing for a song is so important. Like in popular music, you don't have to have an electric guitar, but you have to have bass. Like that's why you find a bass in a jazz trio with a piano player and a drummer. You find a bass player everywhere also where you don't find a guitar player. And then it's also a very physical instrument, just thicker strings, and depending on how you approach them, it's physical. Especially a double bass, a stand-up bass, even more. So it's there are different qualities there that you train than on a guitar, and that's why yes, I can play some bass.
Yeah.
But I play way more guitar, but I would never now consider myself a bass player.
So your group of 5 were teenagers and all friends.
Yeah.
And you'd been that way since? You didn't replace anybody?
No, one guy left.
What happened?
Well, simply, he just grew up to want to become something else, to do something else. That's a short version of it.
Well, because you're a teenager, you don't even know what you want to do in life.
No, exactly.
Typically.
And he was always the one trying on way more different suits, which is fine, and then that combined that we did an album that really where things turn around for us. He didn't quite believe in it. He wasn't feeling it. It wasn't really for him. So ironically, therefore, he left the band right before we really started to take off.
What's he doing now?
He's got his university education in something economics, something. I don't remember exactly, but we do meet occasionally.
That's nice.
And he's still a buddy of ours. We did have last year when we had our last show of a European tour. We were in our hometown.
Okay, we're back. What happened was the heavy metal, the camera couldn't handle all the heavy metal information, and it overheated. But just want to say thank you to Johannes and Avatar for participating in a Be Fantastic interview. He is fantastic. He's going to be united with his fantastic wife. How long have you been married?
Oh, less than a year.
Less than a year. You're newlyweds. Mm-hmm. I've been married 38, so
congratulations on that.
Good luck in getting that far. And I'm glad you're in love, because here I tell people why they're fantastic. 1, you're young. You have a whole life in front of you to do fantastic things. 2, you're alive. That's usually the number 1, is you're alive. A lot of people aren't. You're in a rock band or a metal band. That's fantastic. You're in love. That's fantastic. You're being chauffeured around town. You're traveling the world. That's a lot of fantastic shit.
Oh, yeah.
So I hope you appreciate being fantastic, and I hope you shared, and when you're on stage, make the crowd fantastic. We have right now 29 ambassadors of positivity. These are people that got the message, that are digging the message, that are spreading the message, because we need more positive people. We need more fantastic people out there. And Johannes, you are a fantastic person. Thank you for participating.
Well, thank you.
And be fantastic. How are you now?
I'm fan-fucking-tastic.
There you go.
That's what you want to hear, right?
That's the ultimate. It doesn't get any better than that. What's your wife going to say when you tell her that?
Oh, she will probably not feel fantastic because she's been on an airplane for 10 hours.
No, she's going to be fantastic when she sees you. Come on. You kidding me?
Will be.
Yeah.
I sure hope
the
so.
past is the past. The airplane 10-hour ride is past. I mean, it's luxury, comfort, it's television, it's food. Come on. Planes are great.
Yeah.
Everybody be fantastic. Like, share. Get your tickets to Avatar. Go to avatarmetal.com where you can see their schedule. Buy their tickets. Buy their swag. And what is the Twitter handle?
I am, Johannes_Avatar.
There you go, Johannes_Avatar. Everybody be fantastic. Thanks for watching.
I met Dr. Fantastic along life's way, and I heard him say, you gotta say, I am fantastic, la la la. I am fantastic. You can feel it if you say it. It ain't a game. You gotta learn how to play it. Fantastic, fantastic. Just listen to the doctor. He's a rocker. He walks around all day. He ain't plastic. He's not sarcastic. He says, I am fantastic.
We are fantastic! Nous sommes fantastic!
I'm fan-fucking-tastic.
I am fantastic!
Fucking Chuck Shahani.
خیلی خوشحالم. I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.
We're fantastic.
Mir gestimmt.
मैं हूँ लाजवाब.
Soy fantástica.
We are fantastic.
رائع.
Mir geht es fantastisch.
Great.
من خیلی خوبم.
Чувствую себя круто. 今天放级啦，항상 저기다.
Io sono fantastico.
Fui fantastic.
Eu sou fantástica. Estou fantástica.
You're fantastic.
We are fantastic.
좋아요.
Eu sou fantástica.
I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.
We are
fantastic.
I am fantastic.
Nous sommes fantastiques.
I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.
I am fantastic. And how are you guys tonight?
We're so fantastic. We're fantastic. I am fantastic.
I am fantastic.